Well, hey everyone, it's Sean again, and in this video today I'm going to be talking about actually offering you a tip on how to practice the lessons because there's this idea that came to me the third time I went through the lessons that made all the difference in the world for me when it came to remembering to practice them and understanding them. And so, the big problem I think with a lot of course students, and maybe everybody goes through it, but I certainly did, where you do the lessons in the morning and then you have an appointed time. It may be every hour, every 2 hours, or whatever it is. And most of the time, halfway through the day, we're like, oh crap, I forgot to practice the lessons, and at the appointed time. And then, we get all frustrated and feel guilty because we didn't practice our lesson. And I remember the first two times I went through the lessons, I was just trying to get through them. I was like, okay, I got to repeat this every hour or whatever, and think about this. And there was so many distractions I let get in the way from me remembering to practice. And then when I did practice, I wasn't really committed to it. And so the third time, there's an idea that came to me that really changed everything. And it was an inspired idea, obviously from the Holy Spirit. And that was, okay, this time I'm going to ask the Holy Spirit to remind me to practice the lessons throughout the day, and also help me to understand it. What is the meaning of this lesson? What is it for? What do you want me to do with this here? How do you want me to apply it? And just help me remember it. And so that really did change everything, because if you think about it, when we don't ask for that help, what a lot of people do is they'll set a timer. And I think I did that too, or maybe write it out on a sticky note or something and place it somewhere where you'll be reminded to do it. But the only problem with that is that timer becomes a source that you depend upon outside of yourself. And even when that timer goes off, if you're distracted doing something, maybe you're on a phone call or trying to handle something going on, it's like, oh, okay, I'll do the lesson as soon as I finish this. And then we don't. We forget. And we keep forgetting to go back to it. So same thing with the sticky note, like, oh yeah, I see this. I'll remember to do that. Then we forget. And because we're depending on something outside of ourselves to remind us to practice the lesson. But when we ask the Holy Spirit, all right, Holy Spirit, I'm going to put all my trust in you to remind me to practice the lesson. Here's what happens. Now the focus of our mind, instead of letting all these distractions that are going on around us take our attention away and our focus away from doing the lessons and thinking about them, now our mind becomes focused in the direction of the Holy Spirit. Because what will happen is you'll actually start anticipating that time. Okay, is it top of the hour yet for me to practice the lessons? Because your mind's directed toward that. It's directed toward the Holy Spirit. So we're refocusing our mind actually toward the Holy Spirit and toward doing the lessons. So it's almost like it's magical in a sense, the way it actually works. But it shifts the focus of our mind. And that's what we want to do. We want our mind to go in the direction of the Holy Spirit. That's what these lessons are about anyway. We're training our mind to choose the Holy Spirit as our guide and teacher. And just a simple process of asking for help to remember to practice the lessons throughout the day shifts our mind towards the Holy Spirit. And now we're like, okay, now don't forget, Holy Spirit, don't forget to remind me. It's like we're reminding the Holy Spirit to remind us. But it's so cool the way that happens, because you'll recognize it. You're going, wow, it's a form of becoming more committed to doing the lessons too. Only because our mind is focused in that direction. We're redirecting our mind and our willpower towards the Holy Spirit, towards God, towards truth. And the outcome of it is just phenomenal, because you'll remember to do it more. You'll feel so much better about, okay, I'm starting to understand this, and I'm so grateful that I'm remembering to do that. I'm so grateful for you, Holy Spirit, that you are reminding me to do this, instead of, halfway through the day, now you're feeling guilty because you forgot, because the ego very cleverly got your attention going outside of yourself and all these distractions. So see how that, just that simple process, a simple practice of just asking the Holy Spirit each morning, okay, help me to remember to do this, help me to understand this. It shifts the direction of the mind, and therefore it's going to shift the outcome and the effects that we experience from those lessons that we wouldn't have otherwise, because we're not really focused on it. So I hope this is helpful to all of you here that are listening to this, and apply it. Just try it. Even if you're most of the way through the lessons, just start doing it now and see if there is a difference that it does make for you. And also, when it comes to practicing lessons, don't make them a ritual. All 3 times, it took me almost a year and a half each time to do them, because I would repeat multiple lessons because I just didn't get it, or sometimes I would get distracted and I wasn't able to practice it. So I was like, okay, no problem. I'm just going to repeat it again tomorrow. And then the next day I would have less distractions and I was able to do the lessons. And so you don't want to make it a ritual to where, okay, I got to start on January 1st and end on December 31st. No, that's a very clever trick of the ego to make you feel like, first of all, because you're going to miss some, and that's okay. And you don't want to have to go on to the next one while you're still don't understand the one you just did. Give yourself time to really understand what the lesson is. Sometimes that'll take repeating them 2, 3, 4, 5 times, and that's okay. The Holy Spirit knows, and Jesus, the way he gave us these lessons, he knows that that's going to happen, and it's perfectly okay. He never said start it on January 1st. It's just 365, according to our perception of time, and 365 days in a year. And so don't make it a ritual, but just make it a practice. Whatever works for you, don't get hung up on having to do one every day. If it calls for doing that same lesson multiple days, that's perfect. Just follow the guidance. You'll know. So anyway, I hope that's helpful. So be sure and keep practicing, and y'all be good to each other, okay? And I'll see you in the next video.